The road to Mill Creek was silent except for the rain tapping against the windshield. Ethan smiled as the old farmhouse appeared through the fog. Their new start, a peaceful life away from the city. But peace didn't last long. That first night, as wind whistled through the cracks, a soft whisper drifted from above the ceiling. Marla froze. It wasn't the sound of the wind. It was a voice, faint, calling her name. When Ethan climbed the narrow stairs to the attic, he found dust, boxes, and a strange cold spot near the center of the floorboards. The whisper grew clearer, like a child humming under the floor. The next morning, the neighbor, an old man with trembling hands, warned them never to open the attic. "There's a well up there," he said. It took the Rourke family. They laughed, thinking he was senile. But that night, the whisper became a cry. The creak of the floorboards echoed through the attic as Ethan pushed aside boxes and broken furniture. His flashlight flickered, revealing a square patch of wood in the center of the room. Nails had been driven into it from every angle, sealing it tight. Something wanted to stay buried. But curiosity won. Ethan pried it open, revealing a dark shaft lined with stone. A foul smell escaped. Marla covered her mouth as cold air rushed out, carrying faint whispers, almost pleading. Later that night, they heard thuds above their bed. The attic door swayed open by itself at exactly 3:11 a.m. Marla screamed as a child's laughter echoed from the ceiling. When Ethan checked, the trapdoor was open again. Inside, claw marks now lined the wooden edges, as if something had tried to climb out. The town's library was small and forgotten, much like Mill Creek itself. Dust-covered newspapers revealed the house's tragic past. The Rourke family, father, mother, and 3 children, had vanished one night in 1957. The police found no bodies, only the attic door wide open and muddy handprints on the walls. Locals whispered that the children had fallen into the attic well, though no one could explain how such a thing existed. Ethan showed Marla an old photo of the family. Behind them, barely visible, was a tall shadow in the window. That night, Ethan set up a recorder in the attic, determined to prove the voices were real. When he played it back, the whispers were clearer than ever. Among the static came a tiny voice, "Let us out." The sound of water dripping followed, though the attic was bone dry. Marla began to cry, insisting she saw small wet footprints leading toward their room. The diner sat alone at the edge of town, its neon sign flickering in the mist. Ethan met a drifter there, a man with haunted eyes who called himself Jonah. He claimed he had once lived in that house as a child. "The well isn't what you think," Jonah said, stirring his coffee with shaking hands. "It's a door. They built it to trap what was beneath." He slid a faded photo across the table, the Rourke family smiling, with a dark figure behind them, featureless, but staring straight at the camera. Jonah warned Ethan that once the well was opened, it called to those who had heard its voices before. That night, Ethan found muddy footprints again, leading from the attic to his own side of the bed. The footprints were small, like a child's. He locked the attic door, but at 3:11 a.m., the sound of laughter came from the hallway. Marla's voice began to change. Sometimes, while cooking or reading, she'd hum an old lullaby she didn't know. Her eyes looked distant, her tone childlike. Ethan found her standing in the attic one morning, whispering to the open well, "I'm sorry we couldn't get out." Panic filled him as he dragged her away, but she didn't resist. That evening, he found an old journal hidden behind the attic beams. The entries spoke of rituals, of sealing the mimic in the well, a thing that wore voices like masks. The last page ended abruptly. "If it speaks in your voice, run." Ethan begged the local priest for help, but the man turned pale and refused. "That house was abandoned for a reason," he muttered. When Ethan returned home, he heard his own voice calling Marla's name from upstairs, though he was standing right beside her. All the clocks stopped at 3:11 a.m. The house groaned as if alive. Ethan grabbed a flashlight, following the sound of running footsteps to the attic. The air was heavy, wet, and cold. The well glowed faintly, light pulsing from deep within. Then he heard it, his father's voice. "Ethan, it's me. Help me out." His father had died 5 years ago. Trembling, Ethan leaned over the shaft. The whispers rose into screams. He saw movement, something crawling upward, pale hands stretching from the darkness. Then a face appeared, his own. Terrified, Ethan stumbled back as the figure laughed, voice identical to his. Marla burst in and pulled him away just as the attic door slammed shut on its own. The next morning, they found deep scratches on the floor, as if something had tried to drag itself out. The storm hit Mill Creek without warning. Lightning cracked over the roof as the attic door rattled violently. Ethan tried sealing the trapdoor with chains, but the floor shook beneath him. A dark mist poured from the cracks, filling the house with the stench of decay. Marla screamed as shadows formed in the corners, faces of the missing Rourke children whispering her name. Then, one by one, the lights went out. Ethan's phone recorded everything: the whispers, the heavy breathing, the sound of water rising. When he reached for Marla, his hand touched only her ring, still warm. The well was wide open now, glowing brighter than before. From its depths, dozens of voices echoed, merging into one. Ethan realized too late it wasn't calling for them. It was calling through them. When the police arrived, the house was silent. They found Ethan's recorder still spinning, faint static filling the room. The tape caught his final words: "The well isn't in the attic anymore. It's underneath us all." The attic was empty, but the boards were damp as though something had seeped up from below. The house was sealed, condemned again by the town. Months later, a young family bought it, unaware of its past. On their first night, their little daughter woke up crying. Her parents comforted her, asking what was wrong. She pointed at the ceiling, eyes wide. "They're talking again," she whispered. "They said the man with my voice is coming." The attic creaked. Then, faintly, the sound of dripping water began.